Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wellness Wednesday broadcast and the language traps. We are going to jump into it right after this intro.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Kanitra Moselle, and I am so excited. We just finished up the book and brunch to launch my first book, Grace for This, the devotional. It's a 21-day journey for women who are growing through grief. The conversations that we had in here today was phenomenal. I want to let you know that GRACE is the acronym. It stands for Grief, Rest, Aid, Community, and Evolve. The reality of it is that we are experiencing a grief journey every single day. Every transition can cause you to grief, but are you leaning into your grief? Grieving is also exhausting, so I'm going to encourage you to actually rest. And when you're resting, rest is clarifying. You're going to learn what you do and don't have capacity for anymore. And guess what? You're going to begin to ask with more clarity about exactly what you need. That C stands for community, because when you start asking for help, your people who are meant for this next season are going to respond to your ask, and your community is going to change. And then lastly, when you go through that grace journey, you're going to evolve to the next best version of yourself. So I'm so excited for you to be a part of this journey. You're going to love what we're doing in this community. Follow Kanitra Moselle and follow Grace for This on Instagram and Facebook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into this month's language traps, where we're going to be talking about expectations. But before we jump in, let me do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Jerecia Lee. I am the CEO of Journey with J.Lee Consulting, and I am excited to be able to talk to you guys about the language traps. For those that may be new here, in this space, we talk about words, expectations, language, or beliefs that typically keeps us stuck and not moving forward. And so we're going to break down these words and learn some ways to overcome them and interact with these words in a different way. So again, my name is Jerecia Lee, the CEO of Journey with J.Lee Consulting, and welcome in. If you are watching the replay, please notate replay in the comment section. And if you're here live, let us know that you're here. I've already seen some people start commenting. So welcome in. So today we are going to be talking about expectations. And you guys know I like to make sure that we are using the same language and same definition when we're talking about specific words. But before I give the definition of the expectations that we're going to be utilizing today, I would like for you guys to put in the comment, when I say expectations, what are your immediate thoughts? Or what is the definition that you have for expectations? So if you can take a moment and just put it in the comments, I'm going to start naming some of the societal expectations that we may have just to help jog your memory or jog what I am referencing. Hey, girl. Hey, Kayla. I think Ariel is in here too. Hey. So some of the societal misconceptions of expectations, right? I see that there's a comment, what we are supposed to do or be. I love it. Yes. So some of the societal ones are, if I do everything right, then things should work out. People should love me the way that I love them. I shouldn't have to ask. I know a lot of us has thought this or said that. I see another definition in the comments of expectations, what I believe is to happen, correct? Okay. Another societal language trap for expectation is good people automatically meet expectations. Good people automatically meet expectations. Hey, Vanessa. Vanessa, what we're doing is in the chat box, if you got a moment, writing in what are your first thoughts when I say the word expectations, or what is your definitions of expectations? All right, and then Kanisha wrote, good people, she said, good people automatically meet expectations. And then the last societal misconception of expectations that I'm going to read today is, if they cared, they would know. Now, I gave you guys 5, and then you guys also gave me your definition of expectations. And so the definition that we are going to use today is, give me 2 seconds, and you guys have been on it. Beliefs or assumptions about how people, situations, or outcomes should happen. So it's my belief or my assumption about how people, situations, or outcomes should happen. I see Vanessa says expectations are what we expect from others. So, and all of you are absolutely correct. Now, let's kind of get into the concern with these expectations or how this sets us up to be stuck, disappointed, or attributed, hey, family, hey, Dr. Mason, how it can contribute to us impacting our value, because even with that last societal one, if they cared, they would know. So in all of the examples that I gave, it is setting us up for us not communicating well. Definition: beliefs or assumptions about how people, okay, you just repeated it back, sorry, about how people, situations, or outcomes should happen. So in all of those, the societal misconceptions, like I said, it repeats back to it, sorry, it reinforces not communicating. If they cared, they would know. Good people automatically meet expectations. I shouldn't have to ask. People should love me the way I love them. And we know that one's automatically a no-go, because when we talked about love, we all have different love languages. And we also know that people don't always have the capacity to show up the same way that we show up, right? Okay. So here's what we're going to be talking about: how our expectations is shaping our stress, our disappointment, our relationships, us becoming burned out, and having emotional exhaustion every single day. So you may say, well, how is this contributing to any of those things? Let's think about it. If my thought process is, I shouldn't have to ask, that means I have a silent expectation for someone to meet a need that I have never communicated. It is like when you're in partnership with someone, and I have this happen a lot of times in my counseling session. So I'm processing through multiple examples and trying to make sure that I pick a good one. Um, when you have a partner and you're like, well, I want to see how they do X, Y, and Z. I want to see what they do for my birthday. I want to see if they're going to clean up those dishes without me saying anything. And I tell people they're going to automatically fail. First and foremost, they don't know that they're being tested. 2, they don't know that the expectation is that you do something for their birthday. They also don't know that you're waiting and watching to see if they clean the dishes up today. So we have to take a moment and make sure that we are actually communicating what our needs are. I'm going to say this: just because we communicate the need does not mean that the individual is going to meet the need, but it is our job to communicate it at first. Okay? So, here's the thing: expectations are not bad. They become an issue when, just like the example I gave, it's a silent rule. It also puts people in emotional contracts. And it holds people to standards that they never agreed or contracted to uphold. Think about the expectations that you have for your friends, the expectations that you have for your family members, your coworkers, or your partners. And let me know if you have actually communicated what that need was or what that expectation was. Or is it that we tell ourselves, this is common sense? Why wouldn't they do this? That's a pitfall. That's a trap. It's common sense. I don't know if you guys grew up with the same, but common sense not that common. And here's the thing, common sense is not that common because it really depends on where you grew up, the dynamics within your home, the dynamics within your city, your culture, on what is expected. And these expectations are taught or not taught when we are kids. And even our parents don't always do a good job, hey Deb, of communicating. You are fussing me out, my bad. Um, do a good job of communicating the expectation. In some areas we do, i.e., when we assign chores to our kids. But there's other situations where there's silent expectations for our kids, right? And one of the ones that I see that we don't necessarily communicate very well is we expect our kids to be respectful to everybody. One, have we taught them what respect is in our definition? Because here's another thing, that's another word that, depending on your upbringing, your culture, and where you are, that may have a different meaning in itself. So, teaching respect, what that means per our definition, and then how do they actually execute that? Okay. So, moving on down. So, what happens when we have these silent expectations for ourselves? What happens internally for us? Did you know that there's an emotional and psychological impact? I want you to think about the things that you have silently expected others to do, and then what are the narratives? What is the self-talk that you gave yourself when that person did not meet that expectation? A lot of times we internalize and we personalize the disappointment. Oh, they don't love me. I'm not worthy. I must not be good enough for them. Because if they wanted to do it, because that's another toxic thing. I ain't gonna say toxic, but that's another hurdle, I'm gonna call it, that we say. We always say people make time for what they want to make time for. That is, I do believe that. But there's also some nuances in that, right? If my life is chaotic and it's not organized and there's a lot of things that I'm navigating, I may truly want to hang out with you or have a conversation with you, but at this moment, I can't add it in. So it's not true that I make time for what I want. Sometimes I just can't. So personalizing the disappointment, right? We internalize it. We think we attach it to our value or our worth. Now here's another one. How many of us want to control everything? And before you say no, I really want you to think about how much stuff or how many things, tasks, people that you do actually try to control intentionally and unintentionally. So we struggle with control. We want people to do what we want them to do. When we talked about the conversation with boundaries, one of the comments I made is that a lot of times boundaries are difficult because people want to interact with us the way that they want to. And you implementing a boundary for yourself, because the boundary is not for them, for yourself, that means that you are showing up differently. You're no longer interacting the same way that you did. And that means that the control or the interaction that that person is used to having with you is no longer there, right? And then we get the statements, oh, you bougie, oh, you change, you think you better than us. I've grown. I've grown. We got to start leaning into some of these things that people are saying, because it means that they have noticed that you have shifted. And that's the whole point. But because we hear it in a negative tone, and I'm going so left, I apologize, but we hear it in such a negative tone that we retreat and be like, no, I ain't changed. I'm the same old, same old. Let me show it to you. Let me prove to you I'm the same old. No, I haven't. I'm not the same. I don't want to be in that environment no more. I don't want to do it no more. All right. So, more of the emotional and psychological impact. Thank you guys for saying flow. And I kind of already hit this. We tie outcomes to self worth. If someone shows up for you, then you're like, oh, yes, that means they love me. But the moment someone can't show up for you, for whatever the reason is, we're hurt. They don't love me. They didn't think enough of me. The one that I hear a lot in relationships is, I've expressed this is what I needed from my partner. Why can't they do it? If they love me, they will self sacrifice themselves to do it. Keyword self sacrifice. And our goal is to get away from self sacrificing. We shouldn't have to shrink ourselves, contort ourselves to be in partnership with anybody. And if we are, then is that the right partnership? Because my partner should be able to come to me and say, hey, babe, I need X, Y, and Z. And then I have to do a true assessment, determine if I can or cannot do it. And if it's not self sacrificing and it's something that's in my capacity to do, then I should absolutely do it. But that's the other thing. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of people don't have the capacity to do the things that we think are simple. They just don't. And it could be because of how they was brought up, trauma they have may have experienced, the way that they perceive the world, the way they interact with the world. We don't always have the capacity to do things that people want us to do. And then when that person doesn't have the capacity, we attach it to our self-worth. Here's the biggest one. We become resentful when others don't perform according to our internal script. How many of us in friendships, dynamics with our families, we have an expectation of how we want them to interact with us or how we want them to show up? I'm going to use this time an example of a family member who may be utilizing substances as self medication and or as coping mechanism. And me, as the family member that cares about them, that loves them, I want them to do better. I want them to choose me and whatever I have going on over their drinking or over their prescription or non prescription medication. They may not have the capacity to manage without the alcohol or manage without the substances to be able to meet the expectations that they will show up to whatever I'm asking them to show up to. Even if it's just a phone call, give me a call once a week, let's check in. They may not have the capacity. But then we get resentful because it's like, oh, well, I keep showing up. I keep putting money on the books when they go to jail. I keep giving them chance after chance after chance. but they can't do X, Y, and Z for me. They don't love me. They don't X, Y, and Z. When we probably set an unrealistic expectation for them and where they are in their journey. So I wanted to shift to some hitting language traps around expectations, kind of more for us, but it may be general too. So some hidden language traps around expectations. Mm, I should be further along than what I am. How many of you guys can raise your hands on within your career or within relationship dynamics? You have told yourself, I should be further along than what I am. Anybody? Here's another one. I have to hold it all together. I know I felt that. I felt that in jobs. I felt that in family dynamics. Um, I've definitely felt it that I have to hold it all together. I literally was just having, hey, Kathy. I was literally just having a conversation with somebody else who is grieving and grieving three significant loss. But they said that they didn't feel like they had the space or ability to break down, that they had to hold it together for everybody else. And not only did they had to hold it together for everybody else, but then they also had to hold space for everybody else. And my conversation about that, or my comment to that, is no, you don't. You're grieving too. You can tell people I don't have the capacity. I can't hold space for you today. I don't have it. One I've heard, and I'd be so confused, y'all. They should already know. They should already know what? They know what they did. Do they? Some people do. Some people know exactly what they did. But there's some people who don't know that they have even offended you. They don't even know that they haven't met an expectation because one, you didn't communicate the expectation. It was that silent expectation. Hey, Miss Annie. They should already know. Why? Why should they already know what they did to you? Or why should they already know what the expectation is? Again, we got to remember that everyone comes from different backgrounds. Everyone is raised differently. And so, what may be common sense for you may not be so common sense for them. And we got to take a moment to actually start having conversations. I can't disappoint people. Have any of you guys felt like, in addition to I have to hold it all together, I can't disappoint people? And then the last one is I'm failing if things don't go as planned. I know I've told myself that, like, if this doesn't go X, Y, and Z, then I am a failure. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Or I may even feel like everybody else is judging me, that everybody else is going what I said I was going to do. Oh, she not good. And they're going to talk junk about me. And so to me, that narrative has to shift in the sense of what is the goal and making sure that we're aligned with what the outcome we're looking for and how we're supposed to achieve that. So all of these narratives that I just said, they silently reinforces anxiety, perfectionism, hyper independence, and emotional exhaustion. How many of you guys can say you felt all four of those? Me. I definitely struggle with anxiety. Y'all have heard me talk about my perfectionism. I'm recovering. Thank you. I'm doing pretty good. Hyper independent. That means like I don't feel comfortable relying on anybody because I mean I don't even want to give nobody the chance to let me down. So I got it. You need help? Nope, I got it. And I look back on things. I'm like, girl, why did you feel like you needed to have that? You didn't. You absolutely didn't. And then of course it led to me being burnt out. Absolutely burnt out because I was going at all cylinders, trying to hold it all and letting little people do this, do that, but then if they complained about it, then okay, I got it. I got it. I got you. Don't even worry about it. I got it. Right? It's unrealistic. It is unrealistic. All right, so question. Have we ever thought about, have we ever considered how expectations can become idols of control? What do I mean? So, these expectations, expecting certainty, needing to know, I need to make sure that this goes perfect. I need to know the outcome. It has to be perfect. And then expecting ourselves to never struggle. We're human. We're absolutely going to struggle. I wish I had the Bible verse that I could quote, but it is one about He places our feet, but and although we stumble, like He still keeps us steady. I wish I had the actual scripture on hand, but that one sat with me last week, and it really meant a lot because it's like, yes, He's guiding us, but even in Him, even as He is guiding us, we are going to stumble. We're not perfect. We was never meant to be perfect. We are going to struggle. We're not going to always know. So all of these things that we are expecting within ourselves or others is unrealistic. But we have somebody that has our back, and that though we stumble, we will be planted on solid ground as long as we trust. All right, so let's do some reframing. What you guys think? The whole point is you guys know that I like to do actionable things. Like, okay, so this is how we're stuck. These are the narratives that we're telling ourselves, and this is how we're setting ourselves up to have expectations, which may lead to all these other things. And I'm going to read some what she says. The Lord dictates the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall. This is the one. For the Lord holds them by the hand. Once I was young, and now I'm old. Yet I have never seen the godly abandoned or their children begging for bread. Yep, it was the Lord dictates. That's the one. Thank you, Kanitra. All right, so how are we going to shift our mindset? So how do we start navigating a better interactions with expectations and moving forward? So first and foremost, we got to change our old mindset. The old mindset of everything has to go according to my expectations for me to feel okay, right? That's the old mindset. Everything has to go according to my expectations for me to feel okay. Because that's silently what we're saying to ourselves. For me to feel okay, for me to feel secure, all of my expectations have to be met, whether they are silently or spoken. But I'm going to encourage us to switch to a new mindset. The new mindset is I can have healthy expectations while remaining flexible, communicative, and grounded. So, what does that mean? So, this shifts us from expectations controlling our peace and who we are to it guiding how we communicate, right? So I'm going to give us four tools that we're going to try to help us use to determine and implement expectations in a more healthier way. So the first tool is identify the assumptions. So if we use the scenario, I want to see if my partner is going to wash the dishes. Did you ask them to wash the dishes? Or did I just assume that if they see the dishes in the sink, they will wash the dishes? Which one did we do? And if I didn't ask my partner to wash the dishes, then we're setting them and ourselves up for failure. But if we go and say, hey, can you wash the dishes by the end of today? And notice I put a time frame on it because we can say, hey, will you wash the dishes? And our partner be like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do it when I get to it. They get to it maybe 5 days from now. And now you're really pissed because I asked you to do it and the dishes are still in the dishwasher or in the sink. Versus if we put a time frame on it, can you wash the dishes by today, by tonight? And here's the other piece of the responsibility when someone is asking us an expectation, asking us something. We really need to start taking time out before we say yes or no, or feeling like we don't have a choice in it, and assessing if we have the capacity to actually do it. If your partner comes to you and say, hey, can you wash the dishes today? But you know that you're going to have a long day at work and you're probably not going to get off till 8 or 9 o'clock. And then at 8 or 9 o'clock, you're probably just going to eat something and go to bed. We got to communicate that I'm not going to be able to wash the dishes today, but I can wash them for you in the morning. Will that work? Right? So you see how it's a dialogue. It's a conversation of this is what I would like for you to do. The person assessing to determine if they can or cannot do it and communicating if they can or cannot. But if you can't do it, offering a different solution. Like, don't just leave your partner hanging. And this is not just for romantic relationships. This is even for family dynamics. This is what friendships. This is even at work. Okay. All right. Tool number 2. We got to separate our standards from perfectionism. So, standards, right? It's good to honor your values. My question to you is, do you even know what your values are? We may need to actually take a moment to identify what are our values. What is important to me? What are my values as me, as myself? What are my values as a mom? What are my values as a wife? What is my values as a daughter? What is my values as an employee or as an employer? What are your values? Do you know them? If you don't, we got to start there because that should be guiding what you do and what you don't do. So make sure that when you are separating standards from perfectionism, make sure you're honoring your values. We've already talked about, we're going to go ahead and identify what those are. You are honoring your boundaries, the things that you need for yourself, not for other people, but the boundaries for yourself, for you to feel safe, that you are going to abide by and you are going to uphold and not release that control to anybody else. And then what are your needs? As a quick side note, when I'm communicating with individuals, especially as they are starting to date, I ask them the questions. What are your values? What's important to you? Right? But then I also ask them to identify 3 other things. One is, what are your non-negotiables? If this happens, I'm done. There is no conversation about it. I'm out. I'm good. We're good. No love lost. Right? But a non-negotiable is a true non-negotiable. I am willing to walk out the door no matter what. There is no conversation. There is no talking us about it. I'm done. Right? What is your non-negotiables? What are your needs? What are your needs to feel safe and secure? Safe and secure physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. What are those needs? And these things are conversations that we can have. These are conversations that we should be having. Hey, this is what I need. Can you meet my need? No, I can't meet your need. And what happens if they can't meet your need? Because if you haven't put it in the non negotiable pile, that means that you're willing to have a conversation about how that need can be met. And then the last one that I have people identify is, what are your wants? So these are the little cherries on top. These are the, oh, I want my person to be 6'10, they got to be this complexion, they got to have this job. Like, these are be good things to have in partnership, but if they don't, it's okay. But the non negotiables and the needs we have to identify. So again, when we're setting our standards versus perfectionism, we're able to understand what our needs are. And so if we're looking at perfectionism in this sense, it ties your worth to the performance. And that's not what we want. Remember, it ties to, well, if they do X, Y, and Z, then that means that I am worthy, that they love me, that I am. Or if I do, then I am. Okay. Our third tool, practice flexible thinking. So in this, shifting from, and this one is one that a lot of people wouldn't or will not admit out loud. But if you really take a moment to think silently, you will be like, okay, yeah, I can see where I've done this before. It has to happen this particular way. We go back to the dishes. They have to do the dishes this particular way. They have to do it the same way that I do it. They have to rinse the dishes first, then they're going to sit them in the dishwasher, then they're going to run the dishwasher, then they're going to open up the dishwasher, and then they're going to put them all up. And it all has to be in that exact order in the same day. Right? Is that realistic? Like, that might be realistic for you because that work for your brain and how you operate. It doesn't mean that that's going to work for your partner or even a roommate. So we can replace that with, I can adjust without abandoning myself. Like, just because I remove the expectation that all of this has to be done the way that I do it, I don't know what this nope mean, Deborah. I am very interested in what that nope mean. Oh, I can adjust without abandoning myself. If you're going to ask someone to do something, you have to release it. You can put a time frame on it, but you don't get to dictate how they do it because their brain doesn't work like your brain. Unless you're marrying someone whose brain works like your brain. I haven't seen too many couples that do that, but there are some that's out there. So we're not going to say that it can't happen. But again, if that is something you need, then that needs to be identified when you're dating someone. See how all of this just lines up together and how it all coexists together? About expecting them to do something how you want to do it. Okay, got you. Yes. Nope, you cannot. Got you. Follow. All right, tool 4. Refrain from internal pressure. Now, us recovering perfectionists, I know the internal dialogue that I had was, I have to do everything perfectly. And my terminology wasn't perfectly, that's not what I said, but I did have the expectation of, if the standard is here for me, and this was my own thing, this is not the expectation that I had for others, but if the standard was here, then because I got to lead from the front, I'm gonna go ahead and go up here. Right. And again, this was a self imposed thing. It wasn't anything that anybody expected me to do. It wasn't anything somebody told me to do. But the way that I internalize lead from the front or be a good leader, lead by example, is I have to show that we can go above and beyond. So if that is something you aspire to, it is achievable. And then the things that I couldn't go above and beyond, I was like, yeah, that ain't realistic. Don't even worry about that. Just do, right? But why did I put that pressure on myself? Why did I put that pressure on myself? And so shifting to I can do my best without destroying myself, because that's exactly what I was doing. I was destroying myself because I felt like I had to operate here. When there was no reward, there was no benefit, there was no extra kudos, there was nothing that I gained by operating at a higher level. I might be overlooking it, but I don't think there was no reward. I definitely didn't get no extra pay. I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get a reward. There was no kudos. It was what it was. And then I'm looking at everybody because I'm burnt out because I'm over here trying to take on everybody else stuff and still operate at this high level. I'm tired. It ain't gonna work. I had a grad student that I'm working with that I'm gonna say recovering perfectionist, but she worded it greatly for herself. And so I'm going to pass it on because it may be helpful for somebody else. Um, Going into grad school, she had all of these expectations that she was going to read every chapter that she needed to read. She was going to study X amount of hours, like she was going to absorb and really take in all this information while also working her internship and working a job. I don't know if you guys know anything about grad school, and I'm talking about full time grad school, not part time grad school, but that's a lot. And on top of it, not just learning and reading all the information, she had the expectation that she was going to make an A on every single assignment. First semester, okay, get in the flow, had some hiccups, we're good. Second semester, crash and burn, absolutely burnt out. She could no longer operate at that level. Yes, Kanitra, take heed. Um, she could no longer operate at that level of trying to manage all of those things. And so we had to regroup on, okay, what is the value? What's the priority? What do we actually need to focus on? And she came up with the concept of B means balance. So she had to rationalize in her mind why it would be okay to get a B on an assignment and not all A's. And so she came up with B is for balance. That means B, one, I'm managing my schoolwork, I'm managing my workload, I'm managing my family life, and I'm managing my personal life. And I loved it. I was like, yes, B for balance. Because at the end of the day, to be truthful, when you go look for a job, they're not looking at your transcript to see if you got A's or B's. They're not looking at it. Either you can do it or you can't. And they're expecting that if you graduated, that you have the education that you need to be able to at least start the job. So those are my 4 tools. So lastly, the last little thing I'm gonna do before we end. I want to do real life application exercises. And this is just kind of for you guys to think about. And again, how do we apply this to our life? How do we apply? So step one, I want you to identify one expectation that's causing you stress right now. Is it an expectation within your relationship, career, parenting, ministry, healing, finances, or just with yourself? What's one of them? Then I want you to ask yourself, is this expectation realistic? Was it communicated? Was it even communicated with yourself? And is this expectation rooted in fear, pressure, or self-worth? Where's this expectation coming from? Why do we have this expectation? Step 3, I want you to create a healthier reframe. So reword it like we did earlier. So moving from I should be able to includes asking for support. Step 4, I want you to practice one action this week, communicating the need versus it being silent, or releasing unrealistic pressure that you have put onto yourself or even others. Asking for clarification. Give yourself permission to adjust. And when you're communicating your need, even following up with the need, when we state what the need is, asking them, can you meet this need? And hopefully it prompts them to be like, can I? Do I want to? Because maybe I don't want to. Okay. So, lastly, some encouraging words. You are allowed to release the pressure of becoming everything for everyone. Lord, I'm working, listening, but this is so good. Definitely have to go back and listen to the replay. Awesome, Kayla. Thank you. Hey, I'm Vicky. So, our reflections, you are allowed to release the pressure of becoming everything for everyone. Release that pressure. Take off that mantle. You don't have to carry it. You probably didn't even supposed to pick it up. So, let's put it down. You are allowed to be in a process. That's the perfectionism. We don't have to be perfect. And you are allowed to adjust expectations without believing you have failed. Every single one of us have drawn a picture of what we want something to look like, whether it's a marriage, whether it's our kids, whether it's a career, whether it's ourself, the persona that we want. Every single one of us have drawn a picture. There's a picture that we have that replays up here, and we're striving to that picture. I'm going to ask you, is that picture realistic? Or is it time to release that picture and redraw a new one based on information you have now, knowledge you have now, experiences that you have healed from now? Do we need to draw a new one? And grieving that old picture, releasing what we thought was supposed to be, and embracing what can be and even what God wants us to be. That's the ultimate, releasing unto what God wants us to be. God never asks you to carry the weight of perfection, only the responsibility of obedience, growth, and trust. I'm going to repeat that one more time. God never asks you to carry the weight of perfection, only the responsibility of obedience, growth, and trust. This is my time. I hope you have taken something away, or something that you have heard has impacted you, and not impacted you to just think about it, but impacted you in a way that you're ready to take action, and ready to do something about it. You guys have your takeaways of how you can do it. So I'm wishing everyone luck on as you start interacting with expectations and communicating them better, but also giving whoever you're communicating with a chance to actually identify or acknowledge, confirm if they are able to meet that expectation or not, and not allowing those that don't meet your expectations to diminish your self-worth or your self-value. You matter, your value is there no matter what. and just starting to believe in who you are. You guys have a wonderful evening. I'll see you guys next month. Have a good one.
Hello, my name is Kenitra Moselle, and I am founder of a beautiful community called Grace for This. We are about women taking ownership of their wellness journey in 3 ways: personally, relationally, and professionally. I'm inviting you to be honest about your grieving experience, your healing experience, and then lastly, your building experience. You're going through this because you're graced for this.